Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you use your channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. Loads of great guests coming up, loads of great fans, loads of great players, including today, lifelong Hammer. It's John Ledington. Hi John, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Russ. Fine.
How are you coping in this new world we live in at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad. Just plodding on, as they say. I've retired now, so work isn't an issue.
Okay.
My wife, she's got a condition, so she's had to sort of safeguard.
Yeah.
So I've been doing errands and shopping and stuff. But when we're together, we do reading. I listen to lots of music, watch lots of movies. So
Yeah.
it's. I can't say it's been um, uh, uh, not a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's me and Jeanette have spent a lot of time together, and we're not a couple that gets fed up with each other's company.
Oh,
We
that's
we like each
fortunate.
other's company. Yeah.
That's fortunate.
So yeah, but Jeanette's back at work now, so
Oh,
it's a
so
little bit of normality.
yeah, now you're kicking yourself around the house a little bit now, waiting
Yeah,
for
yeah,
waiting for home time. I know how you feel. I know how you feel. But obviously football's back, so at least you've got
yeah. It is.
something to moan about. You've got something new to moan
Yeah,
about. So yeah, it's
it
fun.
seems a bit odd with no supporters.
Yep.
I think it proves that supporters are vital to the game.
Yeah. No, I
Vital.
I totally agree. It's one of those things where um, I think they had to get it all done. They had to get the season finished, and just say obviously if they didn't, there'd be litigations, wouldn't there? If everybody goes
Yeah.
down or stays up, so that had to be done. And you're right. I think it's actually helped a lot. I think there's I think there's an appreciation, as you said, of the fans and the impact they do make. Particularly the first few games where it was weird and the fitness levels were low, and you're thinking if the crowd were there, it may have given them another 10%. Do you know what I mean
Yeah, yeah.
in terms of that? But it is what it is, isn't it? And
It is. There's nothing we can do. It's this virus has affected all walks of life, all activities. So you've just got to go with it.
exactly, you're right. And we'll get this season over with. We'll beat Watford on Friday, and we'll be okay. Be
And
no
I
problem
think
at all.
if we win tomorrow, that should be it.
Yeah, yeah,
That should be it.
definitely.
Should be safety.
It should be. It should be. But we know, John. You're West. You know it. Anything can happen
Oh
with West
yeah,
Ham.
yeah. You can never predict. You can never be sure.
No, you really can't. But that is the joy of being West Ham fan. So,
It is.
speaking of that, John, I always ask every person I have on the channel, whether it's a player or a fan, you know, their story. So, why West Ham? Why is West Ham your team? I'm not detecting a Cockney twang in your accent
No,
or anything like that.
no, no. Well, I was born in Stoke-on-Trent and I've lived here all my life. And when I was 10, I started taking a real interest in football. I started playing football at school, got for the school team.
Yeah.
And in '64, when West Ham got to the cup final, I just, obviously back those days, it's the biggest game of the calendar. It's the biggest game you could see live on television. And it started at 8 o'clock in the morning, went through till 6 o'clock at night. It was a whole day. And the lead up to the game, I read in the paper West Ham versus Preston, and I had no real knowledge.
Mm.
And I watched the match, and I just like them, and the strip really. I like the strip, even though it was black and white, no colour television. The strip, and then they won, and I did particularly like John Sissons
Yeah.
because like same Christian name, and when I played football, I played on the wing, and John was a winger. I just like John Sissons, and he's still close to my heart now. So watch the match, they won, and then the start of the 64-65 season, West Ham were fixtured to play Stoke at the Victoria Ground
Oh,
in the September. So I asked my dad to take me. So he did. We ended up losing 3-1, but that had no negative connotations at all. It just enhanced, and the strip, the away strip, the iconic, the sky blue strip with the claret
yeah.
hoops. I loved it, And it was just logically, I should have been a Stoke City or Port Vale fan. But once I'd seen West Ham in the flesh, I'd seen the cup final, I was hooked. I was really hooked. And it might sound really strange, but it was something magical, really. They just got me.
Yeah.
And I say I was 10 years of age. And that in the Christmas of '64, my mum and dad wrote to the club to see about buying a strip for me, a full strip. And the club sent the strip up without payment, which I learned years later. So they sent the strip and trusted my mum and dad to send the money, which they did. And then as I got into my teen years, I'd go to the odd match, not regular because I was still at school on the money side. But I'd go if they were in Manchester or the Midlands. I'd go to matches when I was in my early teens. And I remember going to matches. I remember in '69 paying for a ticket when they played Mansfield in the FA Cup. It was 10 shilling the ticket was. But it was postponed because of bad weather, and then they played it in the midweek. And obviously I couldn't go because it was school.
Of course.
And then it's just I wanted to go to these matches, and the matches, I picked my matches, I wasn't lucky enough to be a local hammer who could go every home match. Yeah. And then the earlier round, they played Huddersfield, and my sister was at Leeds University then. So I met her in the centre of Leeds. We got tickets for the match, my sister and her friend Barbara, and I waited for her in the centre in Leeds, and I was accosted by some Leeds fans. So by the time my sister had turned up, I was covered in spittle. But we went to the match, and it was we won 2-0. So yeah, and then as you go on, I went to 3 of the 4 League Cup semi-final matches against Stoke, and it culminated in Stoke winning 3-2 at Old Trafford. Yeah. But what a match that was! It was one of the most exciting football matches I've ever seen. And, and my dad and my brother-in-law was. I think I was the only person from Stoke-on-Trent who was sad at the result. But I'm quite happy, really, if it sounds that Stoke did win, because my brother-in-law was a massive Stoke fan, and 3 years later he passed away from Hodgkin's non-lymphoma, and so I'm glad that he got to see his beloved Stoke win the final, because he was only 30 when he passed. So yeah, it was, and then my dad got me 2 tickets for the final in '75. And I went down on the bus with a friend of mine, Phil. And what a day. That's one of the great days. I mean, '75 was a good year because I met my wife in the February. Yeah. And then West Ham won the cup. So it's a pretty good year.
Yeah, it's a good year. That's a
good year. And then, as I say, I used to go to the odd matches. And then my son was born in '77. I couldn't get a ticket for the '80 final, so I watched it at home. And then I took Andrew for his first match in '84 when he was 7. This was down at Stoke, and we won 4-2. So Andrew became hooked then, Yeah. So we used to go matches together. I've got somebody to go with then,
Yeah, exactly.
Because in the early days, there was nobody in Stoke-on-Trent who remotely supported West Ham. At school, I had a mate, Jimmy, who was a Leeds fan, but everybody else was Stoke and Port Vale,
Yeah.
And so me and Andrew used to go on the train. But in Stoke-on-Trent now, Russ, there's a lot of West Ham fans.
Really?
I've met lifelong friends. I've made lifelong friends with people I've met at matches from Stoke-on-Trent, and there's a lot of West Ham fans in Stoke.
Do you think that's sort of EastEnders moving up north, or was it like people like yourself?
No, locals.
Oh wow! So
locals, yeah.
Similar journey to you. Wow.
Yeah, no, there's a few lifelong friends, who I met, and we've become, say, friends. And I used to go on the train. Then I started to drive down to Upton Park.
Yeah.
Which is, a 360-mile round trip. I couldn't do it very often, but I did. Yeah. I went to the semi-final against Forest at Villa Park.
Yeah.
And I've never come away from a West Ham defeat feeling so elated, if you know what I mean, because
Yeah,
of
I know.
the it was such a wonderful experience on
Yeah,
the Holt end with the West Ham fans singing Billy Bond's Claret and Blue Army. As the goals kept going in against
yeah,
us, the sound got louder. It was incredible, really. It was surreal that we'd be getting thrashed, but the fans were it was just
yeah,
typified West Ham fans,
yeah, yeah,
gallows humour, really, in a lot of
yeah,
respects. But
definitely.
it was brilliant. And then sort of me and Andrew kept going to matches, and we went to both playoff matches at Cardiff
Yeah,
against Palace and Preston. Um, the first one, forget about that one, and then
yeah,
against Preston, great, brilliant
yeah,
day.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, we managed to get ticket. A friend of mine, Tony, got us tickets for the semi-final against Middlesbrough at
yeah,
Villa Park. So we went there. I mean, over the years, I haven't been to, like the locals would be, to hundreds of matches, but I've got great memories
yeah,
of brilliant
exactly.
occasions.
Yeah,
And the Middlesbrough semi-final at Villa Park, that's another great memory, other than the result, because obviously they had a minute silence for John Lyle,
yeah,
and then some fan during the minute silence shouted Johnny Lyle's Clarence Bewami, and then everybody was singing it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We got booed by the Middlesbrough fans who just didn't get it.
They understand what you're doing. Yeah,
Just didn't get it at all. Couldn't get a ticket for the final against Liverpool. But yeah, it was. I've had some great times in life following West Ham, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
no, exactly. And as you said, it's not. And I say it, and you probably know more than anyone. I say it every episode, but we're not in it for the football. We've backed the wrong horse there. Although you came into, at 64, you had 64 to 85. That was sort of the golden period, really. So
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
of a glory hunter, really, John. To be
Well,
honest,
well,
I'm
I was
being
at 10
honest.
years of
That's
age,
not being funny,
but
but
I did appreciate the type of football they played because
yeah,
I was only 10, but I'd seen football. I think they played tic tac before Barcelona, which
oh yeah,
it's a bit of a stretch, but they used to play lovely passing football along the deck, and slick football.
yeah.
But they had the players.
Yeah, yeah, you can play the football if you've got the right players in the right
Oh
position,
yeah,
haven't you?
yeah.
So
I mean, they had some wonderful players. I went to Old Trafford in '68 on my own. We drew one each, and on one side was Best Lord Charlton, and on the West Ham side was Moorhurst Peters. I mean, wonderful.
yeah, no, I
Wonderful
mean,
footballers. I'm
no,
a
so
'60s football man.
yeah,
I
well,
love the '60s.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, and the great thing is, as you said, West Ham sort of like it just gets into your clothes, doesn't it? You can't wash it out. And as you said, you watched a few games, and then before you know it, you're travelling everywhere around the
Oh yeah,
Midlands and Manchester seeing this team. It's like,
if I didn't love West Ham, I wouldn't at 13, 14 get on a train and go to Manchester
exactly,
or Birmingham or Leeds or. I loved West Ham, and I went because I had nobody to go with, but I was
yeah.
happy going on my own.
Yeah, and you probably do, and when you got there, you didn't feel like you was on your own at all because of
No,
all the
no.
community, and as you said, you met loads of lifelong friends because of West Ham. You might
Oh
not have
yeah, and when
been
and
friends with them if it weren't.
when I went to Upton Park, met obviously the local fans and
Yeah,
had a lot of interaction with them, and just brilliant. Yeah, it's
yeah,
wonderful memories.
they are. They are. Well, I mean, we must be totally biased, but I honestly think we're one of the best fan bases in the league because
Oh yeah,
because we just see, and even more so in this sort of weird world we live in at the moment. You just see the community spirit that comes through. Sort of
yeah,
the East End spirit coming through. Everyone's sort of
yeah, yeah.
chatting to each other on
The,
Facebook and Twitter and stuff.
yeah, on Facebook, I've got a lot of West Ham fans as
Yeah,
friends, and a lot of interaction with them, and yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
yeah, it's brilliant, that's how this channel started. Because of that, and that's how it's become this beast of a thing at the moment. Because
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. You
it's
can
funny.
players giving their histories and fans. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's it's good fun, and it's nice to talk to people who I wouldn't have spoken to. So I never would have spoken you probably, John, ever in my life, to be honest. And now I'm
No, yeah,
chatting to you and having a lovely time, and same with everyone else,
yeah,
and it's lovely because I'm making new friends and also finding a lot about my history of West Ham. I came into it relatively late. Not late, but later than you, for example, and all the 60s and 70s and the 80s stuff as well. It's really interesting. I find it really fascinating listening to all these stories and stuff like that. And as you said, you talk about Johnny Sissons and people like that. I now
yeah.
know who you talk about now, so because
Oh yeah,
I've been doing my research afterwards because it's some of them are fantastic stories. I was like what was on the other day from Michael Noel Campbell, and so I've been reading about Noel Campbell. And it's
yeah.
amazing all this stuff you learn.
He was actually before my time, Noel
Yeah,
Cantwell, but obviously I'm aware of him and Malcolm Allison
yeah.
and people like that. Sitting in cafeterias, sort of moving the salt and pepper pots around. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's great. And there was things because I only so many people. I know the stories, but not the people. I apologise if I didn't credit you properly, whoever into you. But there was a story. I know it was Derek Grimble. That was it. Derek Grimble's story. He was about Cassateris, and he was like in a park in the middle of somewhere in America, and he was talking to someone. He heard a Cockney accent, and they were chatting, and he was the wife of the granddad was the owner of the calf, Castera
yeah,
calf, and that's what I love. All these weird sort of interactions that West Ham
yeah.
just brings together. It's wonderful. It's so
Um,
nice to hear.
I went to Malta
Yeah,
in 1979, 1980 for summer holidays, and I think it was the first one. There was a pub called the 29 Steps, and I had a West Ham T-shirt on,
yeah,
and my son had a West Ham T-shirt, and we walked into this with my wife and my mum and dad. Walked in, and then about half a dozen people at the table erupted, West Ham fans, and sort of shouted me over, and yeah, it was great memories. Yeah,
yeah. On holiday, I literally have a suitcase full of West Ham, so I don't wear anything else around the pool. Because it's the only
yeah.
way, because you start chatting to people, don't you? They
Oh,
see you
you
in a
do,
West Ham
yeah,
top, and they might be a West Ham, and might be an Arsenal fan, and then you start that interaction, and 9 times out of 10, if I'm in Dubai and wearing a West Ham top, I bump
yeah.
into a player because they're just always there as well. It's amazing.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
I love it, love it, love it. Right, so let's talking about players. In a very very clever segue there into what the actual channel's about. This Hammers 11 idea. So the idea is
yeah,
we pick 11 players based on. Well, the only rule really is you have to be alive to have seen them play. Now, from you, obviously 64 onwards, you've got quite a nice spread. To be honest, you've probably got one of the best spreads we've had in
yeah.
terms of players. We try and keep it to a 4-4-2, but to be honest, I'm easy. I'm getting soft in my old age, John. To be honest. Um, and so for the John 11, who would be between the sticks? I'm really interested about your 11. Who would be
Well,
between the sticks?
I base this 11 would be probably where I think the greatest 11, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the greatest 11 players, in my opinion, not to disrespect anybody else.
No, of course not.
But in goal, I mean, I've seen some goal. I mean, I love Jim Standen because he was
Yeah.
the first goalkeeper I was aware of. I love Bobby Ferguson when they signed him from Kilmarnock in '67 for the world record fee. And, Mervyn Day, yeah, 75 cup final keeper. But it's got to be Phil Parks in
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean,
Parks.
he's a superb goalkeeper.
Yeah, and
I mean, I
again,
think he only won one England cap, which is a travesty, really.
it's the
But
most
when you
ever.
see that he's people competing with Shilton, Clements,
Yeah,
Joe Corrigan, they had some great goalkeepers in those days,
we
and
did.
Phil was the equal of them, I think. Yeah,
Mm. You're right in the fact that we've again it's littered through sort of West Ham history that players have come around at the wrong time. So if Phil was another couple of years older or younger, he would have had more than one England cap, that's for sure. Same as a
Yeah,
lot of other
yeah,
players, unfortunately. And it just seems to be West Ham always have an asterisk by their name when
yeah,
it's just. But we know that's the case.
yeah.
So yeah, big Phil Parks. Yeah, that's a good shout, John. Yeah, totally agree with that. Okay, you carry on. You go through the team as you want to in terms of
Well, if we go
formation.
from right back
Yep.
across the line to left back, right
Yes,
back,
sir.
Ray Stewart.
Yeah.
Um, a brilliant, they signed him in the is it 79, I think, for something like £400,000, the most expensive teenager, I think, back then. And a great fullback. But he could also play centre back. I think, if I'm right, and the replay against Everton at Ellen Road in '80, I think he played centre half because Alvin was injured. I think, and
Okay.
he could play, and he would do a good job in
Yeah.
midfield because he got a lot of ability and he was competitive, and obviously his penalty taking was when he sort of put the ball down, did his usual walk backwards, and then he'd come up and just hit it,
Yeah.
as hard as he could. And more often than not, I can't remember him missing. He must have missed one or two, but he was safe as houses with penalties.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Good
was a
shout.
he was a good defender.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was. He was. And again, I've been watching a lot of the old footage, but the 80s and stuff. And yeah, he was an absolutely fantastic player, and still revered by a lot of the players that he played with. You know what I mean? So they
yeah,
talk about Ray Stewart, and that always gives me more credence, to what a good player if the players talk about him in the same regard as the players as the fans, because you get this sort of like duel. The fans obviously because West Ham he's got penalties, but obviously players in terms of what he delivered in training and the matches and
yeah.
stuff as well.
I mean, he embraced the league. He came down and he embraced it, and I think he grew to love the West Ham fans,
Oh
and
yeah,
he loved life in London. I think
yeah. There's a
and
lot, lot.
I know he still goes to matches. Yeah,
Yeah, we
so it's a
still do
lifelong
events.
thing with Ray,
Yeah,
as he
definitely.
is with other players too.
Yeah, no, you're right, and he just got the fans. The fans got him. Lovely guy. I've had the pleasure of talking to him. He'll be on the channel soon when we're not locked down at games because
Yeah,
he wants to do it face to face, which I think is brilliant. But he could have he could have dropped me a text, really, couldn't he? But no, we chatted for about an hour and a half about West Ham, and it's like
yeah,
doesn't have
yeah.
to do that, But all of that
I think
generation,
players of those days,
yeah,
they had more. I think they had more of an affinity with fans.
yeah,
Where now you really can't get close to them. I mean,
no,
they're sort of like movie stars.
no,
They're
you're
a
totally
bit,
right.
away from the ordinary fan. I don't think. I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't interact with, but I do now really.
I know what you mean. There
I
is a
don't
gap,
think
isn't
they
there?
are.
No, I don't think they mean to be. I just think it's a different world, isn't it, than 20, 30 years ago, money
Yeah,
wise and not professionalism, not saying they're not professional, those guys weren't professional at all, but it's another level in terms of professionalism, social media, stuff like that. They have to all be careful, don't they, who they talk to
yeah.
and their openness. So you're
I
right. I
mean,
mean, yeah, you're totally right.
there was something on television last night about, I think it was Alex Young of Everton, and saying about how they lived in the same street as the fans. My wife was incredulous. Lived in the same street, but they did.
Yeah,
And now they live in gated mansions, and
yeah. Well,
but good
yeah,
luck to them.
good luck to them. They got the money. They get the money. They got to spend it somehow, don't they? So yeah, good luck to them. And you're right.
Did yeah,
All the particularly West Ham boys around the 60s and 70s, they were all from around there. In the same estates and stuff. And
yeah,
a lot of them had a second job and they had a market stall and stuff like that. And
yeah,
that's what's come through in the. I'd never appreciated. Because obviously I've seen football in sort of from the 90s onwards, and obviously it's changed somewhat, but not compared to how it was in the 60s and 70s
yeah,
in terms of the money of the game more than anything, and the players
yeah,
themselves. Right. Anyway, Tonka's in. Tonka's in. Who's next? Who are
yeah.
you going to on the back for?
It's number 5, centre half.
Yep.
I've seen a few centre halves. I mean, Ken Brown, the '64 centre half, a legend at the club. Alan Stevenson, who was signed from Crystal Palace, I think, for 80,000. I did have a particular liking for him, because it was an exciting signing for me, Alan Stevenson coming in, and I think he played for the England under 23s, and he was a good centre half, yeah. But got to be Alvin at number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's West Ham's greatest ever centre half. With Alvin, he could do the muck and nettles, as we call it up in the north, but he could play.
Yeah.
He could pass a ball. He could control the ball, and I think I did hear that he was a bit sort of he was criticised a lot for trying to overplay sometimes at the back when he should have.
Oh, really?
Centre half who can play football. I think all the great centre halves or central defenders could play. They could not only do the dirty stuff. I mean, getting stuck in, heading the ball away, but they could play.
Yeah.
And I love the footballing centre half.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, one's a similar one to Ray Stewart, in terms of being this adopted Cockney type thing, very much so with him. He still lives in the area.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And obviously, when Billy got his stand named after him, Alvin did the presentation, which just shows how much he's
yeah. I mean, Alvin does talk lovingly of West Ham.
Yeah,
he does.
Very well.
And you can see he's got a great love for West Ham.
No, I totally agree. Right, okay. Alvin's in. Who's next?
Who do I put at number 6? That's a bit of a conundrum.
Gary Breen, in he comes.
Yeah, obviously Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
The sort of greatest ever hammer, wonderful, wonderful footballer, and a terrific man. I know a lot. I've read a lot of the local fans used to say he had time for you and he'd sign autographs. Yeah. As a little aside, before I retired, I worked for the NHS in palliative and end of life care.
Yeah.
And I had a small part in the care of Gordon Banks. In my job, I used to sit with people who were very poorly, coming to the end.
Yeah.
And my manager rang me up and said, "I've got a job for you, and I think you're going to want to go," because she knew I was a football fan.
Yeah.
Said it's Gordon Banks. Anyway, I went to his house. It was to give his family a bit of respite, so they could go and do a bit of shopping. And so he was in bed, and I sat with him for an afternoon.
Oh wow!
And he was poorly. It's not long before he passed, but we had a good chat about. I mean, you can't be in the company of one of the football's greatest ever figures and not talk football. No. And he just talked lovingly as a footballer, of course, but he also said what a great man he was. Yeah. A really good human being. Yeah. And it was nice to hear him say that. Yeah. Fantastic. But he was a lovely man, Gordon. Yeah.
As I said, you couldn't not take the opportunity, could you?
No, it was. It was sad, but it was moments of humour, and he was on a penalty from Jeff Hurst at Upton Park.
Yeah.
How he said he said he took the longest run up I've ever seen, and I don't think he thought he was going to save it, but he did. But Bobby was. I mean, not the greatest in the air, not a speed merchant, but every West Ham fan knows that he had it up here, where he could read the game and he knew what was going to happen, before it happened. Yeah, Bobby Moore sort of, and obviously won the 3 matches at Wembley: 64, Cup Final, 65, European Cup Winners' Cup, and then the World Cup. But what can you say about Bobby Moore?
Exactly. I mean, you were privileged enough to see him play.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible accolade. And obviously we as sort of less experienced fans are very thankful for the fact that Bobby played for West Ham, but you had the first-hand experience and that. And again, that's sort of like why we're doing this, so we can sort of categorise and catalogue all these people who have seen these players, because They're, we're only getting more players and less players are being around to play, and so no, yeah, I could totally see it about Bobby. And you said, we've had people like Jeff Pike on who have spoken about Bobby. From a player's perspective, as you said, not just a fan's perspective, but from a player's perspective, how much of a gentleman he was. He
Yeah,
would literally wish
yeah,
everyone a good game,
yeah,
individually, and little things like
yeah,
that, and obviously people who've worked, Ian Crocker, who's worked with him when he was at
yeah,
Capital and stuff like that. Fantastic man, on and off the
yeah,
pitch, on
yeah.
the pitch. Okay, Bobby is in. Tough break for Javier Margas, but Bobby's in. Right, okay, let's go left back then. Who's the final
Well,
choices?
there's two
Yeah.
that I would choose from. Frank Lampard Senior,
Mm.
who is a legend at West
Yeah.
Ham. I think he's up there with the most appearances alongside Billy Bonds and
Mm.
people like that. And he played left back, but he was predominantly right footed, but he could um, hit the ball or pass the ball with his left foot. In this team I picked, there's a lot of two-footed players who could play with, who are comfortable on both sides.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of one-footed players who the other foot is useless really, but there's a lot of two-footed players in this team. Which is when my son played football, I always used to encourage him to use his left foot as well. And I
Yeah.
just and he was a great fullback, Frank. He didn't win as many caps as he should have.
No.
And then Julian Dix, legendary left back at West Ham. I mean, we know his reputation as a hard man, but he had much more than that. He could play too. He could hit a ball cross field 50, 60 yards right on somebody's foot.
Yeah.
He scored goals. Could you just hang on a moment? I've got to put the cat into the living room.
Don't be silly. Don't be
Go
silly.
on. Yeah, she's gone.
Don't be silly. We've had it's a new section of the show. I'm going to start is guessing their pets. I've had Frank McAvenny's dog. I've had Harry's dog. I've had Leroy Rossinia's dog, and you're the first fan pet, Cam. So it's great.
Yeah.
Carry on. Back Julian.
Yeah. So Julian, yeah, he's a legendary figure. I mean, the fans just adore him. They love him, And another one who I think if you met him in a pub or in the street, he would have time for you.
Definitely.
He would have time, and it's an ordinary guy, and but was a brilliant footballer.
Yeah.
And so I'm choosing Julian for the left back.
Yeah. I agree.
Naturally left-footed, and defender, and he was a great going forward too. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And you're right. Again, outside of these four walls at London Stadium / Upton Park, no, he wasn't given the credit in terms of the player he was in terms of football ability, because it's always, and the reputation always leads him, doesn't it? It precedes him.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic, and he'll always have a special place in my heart, because
I mean, one memory is when we played Manchester United in the 90s, might have been 94, at Upton Park. We were 2-0 down, and Radachoyu then scored, I think.
Yeah.
And then we had a penalty, and Julian against Schmeichel. There was no doubting the outcome. He hammered it in, and the ground just erupted. It was that was a great memory of ours.
It's always Man United. It's always Man United, John.
Yeah. We always thwarted them, didn't we? A lot of the time we thwarted them.
We are the thorn in their side,
and
hopefully we do it again.
Yeah, and
in a week or so.
We were at the match in '95 when we drew and stopped them winning the league when Blackburn won. So that was a good occasion.
It's just always Man United. It's always Man United. So everyone talks about the Tottenham and Chelsea's, but you look through, and the amount of times we've turned up for Man United is remarkable. It is remarkable, and I remember.
And we were at the FA Cup match, the Di Canio taxi for Bartes. We were there that day with 9,000 Hammers fans. Another memorable occasion,
Yeah, it's the FA Cup games away have because obviously you take a bigger percentage of the fans, don't you, in terms of the away?
Yeah.
And there's something special about those away days in the FA Cup.
Yeah. Love the away days. Yeah,
definitely. Okay,
us against them.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god, yeah, a few more of them next season would be nice. Julian's in. Okay, let's go midfield. Go on, John. I'll leave it
Well,
to
if
you.
you start again on the right, it's
Yep.
got to be Martin Peters,
Yep.
uh, another legend, another two could hit the ball with right and left foot.
Too right.
And one of my first heroes at West Ham.
Really.
I was lucky enough to be at Upton Park when he came walking past, so I accosted him for a photograph, and he was really obliging, and he posed for a photograph with me, which I've got in a frame now. Yeah, but
Fantastic.
a great footballer for West Ham and England. Scored his fair share of goals. And I think, he was very versatile, and I actually think he might have played in goal for West Ham in one match. I think he might have. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, but a great footballer. Good in the air
Yeah.
and both feet. No pace really, but he had the ability. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
You're
it's
right.
sadly he passed away sort of fairly recently.
Yeah.
All our heroes seem to be going.
They do. They do. Unfortunately. Yeah. You're right. It's yeah. Obviously, Jack Charlton going as well.
Yeah,
It's yeah, it's one of those things. It's sad, and I mean, obviously Martin was very sad. 'Cause obviously, he had dementia for many years, and so um, we would ask, something. We'd always be a bit careful about getting him on the
yeah,
pitch, interviewing him in case it was a bad day for him,
yeah.
which was a shame. But he was still there to wave and stuff, and
Yeah,
people could show their
yeah.
appreciation for him. But yeah, no, Martin Peters, fantastic. Yeah,
And I think with
absolutely.
it going to Tottenham, I don't think tainted
No, which
his
is weird, isn't
reputation.
it? Which is weird because so many other players, Scott Parker, for example, go to go to Spurs and then get vilified, but
Yeah.
but Peters never did, and
No, no, no.
yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How it's like one rule for one, but not for the.
Yeah,
I think because it's the modern era compared to the slightly older era, But still, and there's a great story that the guy who does West Ham, who does the announcing, Martin Godliman, did on his one right at the beginning of the channel. He got into West Ham because of Martin Peters, and his first game was Tottenham away in 1970, and he'd missed the news that he'd moved, and so because nowadays you can't sort of
no,
run, you get text messages, Twitter alerts,
yeah,
and so, but if you miss the news, you're out of sync. And that's what he did. He missed the fact that he'd moved to Tottenham. And so he turned up, looks at the team sheet in the back of the programme. Martin Peters at Tottenham. He's like,
yeah,
what the hell? But he stayed a West Ham fan. It's amazing. But yeah,
yeah,
Martin Peters,
great.
definitely. Right. Okay, let's move on. Who's next then, John?
The middle of midfield, first one, Billy Bonds.
Yeah.
And when he first signed from Charlton, he was a right back.
Yes.
He went into midfield and became captain when Bobby left. And I think he had his best years in the middle of midfield. I know he used to, I'm sure one season he scored double figure goals. He was inspirational up and down the pitch. Another one who was a hard man, he could get stuck in, but he could also play. He was no mean footballer. I remember when they played Stoke in the League Cup semi-final at Old Trafford, the second replay. He was absolutely amazing. I'm sure if he looks back, he'll think that was one of his best games. Because I know my brother-in-law, when Billy got the ball, he was just away from it because he was running the show.
Yeah.
And I know he scored one of the goals. And but a legend. Most appearances. And then he moved to centre back, and obviously in the 1980 Cup final played at centre back.
Yeah.
So he's been in a few positions, but played on till he was 40 plus, and and I think he was such an unassuming chap that I know that after every game he'd get straight dressed and go home to his family. Lovely family man, and but he was a great West Ham captain. And so could do everything in midfield, really. Yeah.
No, totally.
Brilliant.
Yeah, lovely guy, and he's just such a humble man off the pitch. And that's what often surprises me about him is you see, I've watched him on highlights and stuff. He's swashbuckling,
Yeah.
that sort of image of him with his bandage on his head,
Oh
in the
yeah.
change
And
room.
the
I love
beard.
that. But still, like, so unassuming. I mean, the guy. I
Yeah.
don't think. I still don't think he's got a mobile phone. He famously has never had a mobile phone. I think it might still be the case, but
A thoroughly decent man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when obviously we dedicated the stand, we renamed it Bobby Moore, the Billy Bond stand. You could just see how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
So much emotion from a man who you didn't see any emotion like that
Yeah.
throughout his playing or managerial career at West Ham. And
It was a lovely moment for
it's
him, to be
fantastic.
recognised. Yeah.
Too right, and a bit obviously late, a bit late and everything, but it's we're doing right and doing that
Yeah.
it started to make amends. Okay,
It's
Billy's
never
in.
too late
It's never
to
too
honour
late.
the
You're
heroes.
totally right. You're totally right. Okay, Billy's in. Who is he going to partner in that centre then?
Trevor Brooking.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to
Billy
be Sir Trev.
Billy was Trevor's minder, I think.
Yeah,
If anybody sort of was kicking Trevor, Billy had come over and sort them out. Yeah. Well, again, another two-footed player, equally comfortable on right and left.
yeah,
And again, like Peters, not a lot of pace, but he didn't need it. And how he used to, the ball was played, and how he used to sort of let it run past him and move on to it. And a sort of superb footballer,
yeah,
one of the best in the country at the time. Yeah,
yeah.
and when we went down in the, he didn't go.
No,
Nowadays, people would just go, and
exactly.
they wouldn't want to play in like the second division then or the championship. He stayed. I know he had his assurances from Ron Greenwood that it wouldn't affect his England career, but it's great the fact that he stayed.
Mm,
And I think it took a couple of seasons for us to get back,
yeah,
but we did. And obviously in 1980, he powered his header past Pat Jennings. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, he's another legendary footballer at West Ham and another decent man.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, it's more important to be a good human being than a good a footballer, obviously. And I think he was both a great footballer and a decent man.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Lovely guy, Sir Trev. And again, I don't think he's got a mobile phone either.
No,
Because I've got the house number. But it's yeah, it's just you just it's funny when you think of things like that. But yeah, and again, I know I always say it, and I know I harp on about, but the fact is that he was doing, and Peters and people like that were doing, were playing some beautiful football. This is ticky tacky before ticky tacky came along
yeah, yeah,
on bogs of pitches, like that team, what it could have been like at London Stadium on the bowling green at London Stadium, it's having a smooth surface,
well,
that's what it's
there
incredible,
were
isn't
mud
it?
heaps, paddy
Yeah,
fields. I mean, either muddy or covered in water, or in the winter, like skating rinks. I mean, like you say now, what would Trevor Brooking and Bobby Moore and Martin
oh,
Peters do on the pitches now?
yeah,
I saw the match the other night, and I said to my son, that pitch, it's the end of the season, or the end of the season really, and it looks like it's an August pitch.
yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
The way they sort of keep and I mean, fair enough. It hasn't had any football on for 3 months, but
no,
still, I mean that's the one thing. Every time, obviously, I'll be there on Friday and stuff at the ground, and just you could just from up top that they just the pitches are immaculate. It's like
yeah, yeah.
and they are beautiful, and it's like you just think some of these sort of older players on those pitches, you would
Oh
think they
yeah,
would have been well beat. I mean, they already were world class. They would have been even more so, isn't it?
yeah,
And
that's
the
right. Yeah,
adverse, I'd love to see the Messis, the Ronaldos on those
yeah.
pitches just to see what they would do, and
Oh yeah. I
it'd be
mean,
interesting.
I know players today. They do complain if the
Yeah,
pitch is not as good as they think it should be. They do have a bit of
yeah,
a moan about it.
yeah,
I know that Pep Guardiola's complained in the past about the grass being too long, or
yeah.
yeah, They don't know they're born.
They don't know they're born these days. You're right, John. Right, who's your last piece in that midfield then?
Well, I'd love to put John Sissons in
Yeah,
on the left because John was a great left winger and one of my heroes. But it's got to be Alan Devonshire.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, £5,000 from non-league. How does that work? And another two-footed player could go right or left, go past the player on the outside, cross it with his left foot, like in the cup final, cut inside. A wonderful footballer and another really nice guy. I've had a couple of interactions with him outside Upton Park, and only briefly, but he had time for you. He wouldn't walk off, and he had time, and but a great player. I think he only won 9 caps, but I know injury may have halted that. But he should have. He was unlucky, really, with that bad injury.
Yeah.
But he came back without the searing pace, but he adapted his game.
Yeah.
And he had a big part in the 85-86 season,
Yes.
And a wonderful player, yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. He reinvented himself and came back a different player, really. But it just showed how skillful he was, because it's always like you say the same thing about players good players can play in any position. Well, about Dev, he completely rechanged his game, when he came back injured, and that just shows how good.
If he was just a speed merchant, he wouldn't have come back and done what he did. But enabled him to adjust his game, but still have an effect on the game,
Yeah, totally. And a lovely guy. May well be on.
Yeah, really nice man.
You may well be interviewing him soon. That's what I'm saying. Hey, hopefully soon, which is good. All right, Dev's in. Okay, up front. Who are we going to have up front then, John?
Yeah, there'd have been a case for McAvenny and Cottee, obviously. Great double partnership in that season. I think 50-odd goals between them.
Oh, God, yeah.
Legendary partnership, they were unplayable. I mean, I went to the first match in that season when they played Birmingham, and McAvenny sort of played a sort of with a whole, like the false 9 up front. But Goddard got injured, and I think McAvenny was then sort of put up front.
Yeah, shoved up.
And and I think another one, Frankie loves West Ham and he loves the fans, and it's reciprocated with them, And Cottee, a brilliant goal scorer, yeah. But the first strike is Sir Geoff Hurst, yeah. I think he's second only to Vic Watson in the most goals for West Ham, and legendary footballer. And again, he could play with both feet, and he was good in the air. Started off as I think a left half. Do you know what one of those is?
Yeah. I know that, John. I know.
Yeah, and then Ron Greenwood saw something in him that he pushed him up front, but that was Ron Greenwood. I mean, as knowledgeable as any manager's ever been. And he saw something and it transformed Geoff, and he went on to become not only one of West Ham's greatest, but one of England's greatest, and obviously 66. Yeah, he was a superb striker, a superb striker, yeah.
Yeah, lovely guy. Okay, yep, so Geoff is in. I've got a few, sir. You've got two Knights of the Realm in your team, and should have been Bobby as well, but you've got 2. That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
And who's the last piece of this John 11?
Yeah, it could have been McAvenny or Cottee.
Yeah.
Johnny Byrne, who was a brilliant striker for West Ham. With not being able to attend many matches, I didn't see a great deal of him.
Yeah.
But I do know what a brilliant striker he was. I think I think it was Ron Greenwood called him the sort of English Di Stefano, similar footballer, sort of just wonderful ability, clinical in front of goal, and a lovely sort of man as well. I think I know he liked to do a lot of chattering. They called him Budgie, yeah. But alongside Sir Jeff, Brian Pop Robson.
Oh yeah.
Was now another player. He played a lot in midfield for West Ham because he got the ability to play in midfield. But I think in '72 it was either 28 league goals. I mean, what would you give for a striker to score 28 league goals now?
I'll take 8. I'll take 8.
Yeah, you would. You would. Double figures would be wonderful. Yeah. But, I mean, he was a sort of prolific striker. He could play in midfield. He could create.
Yeah.
And but he was prolific in front of goal. Yeah. I mean, he started off at Newcastle, and he great goal scorer for them, and then he joined us, and just a brilliant goal scorer, a brilliant footballer, and I know he's got a lot of love for West Ham. The things you read, and I think a lot of his colleagues who played with it alongside him really appreciated his ability. He spoke. I know they speak highly of him. A lot of players do. And he never won an England cap, which is travesty, really.
It's all too familiar, West Ham, isn't it?
Really? Yeah, sort of Hurst and Robson. Yeah, a great partnership. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, you look at someone like Billy Bonds. Never getting an England cap, and you think.
I mean,
Hughes got, for God's sake.
If an English striker scored 28 league goals now, they'd be in the squad immediately,
Yeah, from the age of about 18, they'd be in the squad straight away, like Michael Owen type thing, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, and Billy Bonds was never capped. I know he missed out through injury. He would have been capped, I think. But then
you look at Billy, and you look at someone, I can't remember who it was, but it was interviewing someone, and he said how many caps like Emlyn Hughes got over that period, and you think, Billy was so much a better player than him, and
it's very strange, I don't know. It always seemed West Ham were discriminated against where England were concerned, in some respects.
Well, it's always been. Same as Julian Dix, wasn't it?
Julian. I mean, I think John Gorman said he had to grow his hair to get picked, but they didn't. I think Julian's reputation went before him.
Exactly.
I mean, can you imagine? Now, this is not being unkind to the backs who played today, like Kyle Walker or Ben Chilwell. Or would they sort of, score goals like Julian, or could they hit a diagonal 60-yard ball? Would they hit one in from 30 yards? Which he did.
Even during his time, John, you had like people like Graham Lasso in ahead of him and stuff, and Stuart Pearce, fair enough, because I think
he weren't half the player.
But Lasso was a quarter of the player that Julian Dix was, and
I mean, Julian did have a short fuse. We know that, but ability-wise, he should have won 50 caps or more if he went on ability.
Yeah, well, that's what they should do, really, but they never did it. It was always, as you said, someone like Graham Lasso, quite clean cut, and clean cut, and he didn't. Julian didn't fit into that sort of.
No.
Feel of that team. They were all, pretty boys, and
yeah.
Could talk for ages. John, man, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to
you. Yes, I've loved it.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Russ.
Thank you, and obviously thank you to everyone for watching as well, and continue to watching. I really appreciate everyone's all the likes and comments and stuff. So make sure you share and like and do all that stuff, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel already. And until next time, for me and John, take care, everybody. We'll see you again very soon. And come on, you Irons! Come on, you Irons!
Come on, you Irons!
Yes. Take care, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.